Yo, yo, yo. Good morning, boys and girls. How we doing? Oh, good morning. Well, it's not morning, is it? Good afternoon. Hope we're well. Hope we're good. Very late month is well, yes, we are very late this morning. We are very late this morning. Hey, it's the end of the year. It's the final day of the year, right? It's better late than never, right? We have some New Year celebrations. Got some auctions to post. I want to get some decor roots put together today. Why does everything look a funky color? Everything looks a funky color. I think quite bright outside. White balance is all gone crazy on the camera. What we're gonna do? Yeah, I gotta get a few auctions listed. A few things I want to basically get sorted today. A few auctions listed, high priority, because if you don't put stuff on the auction house, it doesn't sell. Secondly, I want to put together some routes for each of the different lumber types. Just so, just so I have them. It's one of those things that you kind of just need to get it done. Gathermate has apparently been updated now. And I've started to put some routes together for some of the different lumber types. We can kind of go roots for lumber, yeah, Routes. Want to try and put some of these together just so we got them. Something that surprised me is there doesn't seem to be any lumber whatsoever in Ashgahet. Either that or Gathermate doesn't have any info or any data about it. Not a single tree, apparently, down in the depths of the old spider lair. But I guess that kind of makes sense. I've not gone and investigated too much, but Isle of Dawn has some good options for lumber and Hallowfall equally. I've not done a route for this zone yet, but seems to be options. Ringing Deeps seems to have some trees in the green, but slim pickings. Predominantly meaning it's probably going to be trashed here for farming lumber. You're going to stick to the two green zones. And I'm sure a similar pattern will follow if we look through the other expansions. But we'll get to that once I get some auctions listed. I've posted on a few already. The quick TLDR on yesterday's stream, by the way, the dogs were going absolutely bananas crazy and pissed all over the damn sofa. So I had to start taking the entire sofa apart to quickly get it cleaned because it's a relatively brand new sofa. And the honest answer was that by the time I'd finished doing that, I wasn't really in particularly strong entertainer mode, if you know what I mean. And so after only an hour, I thought, right, let's just kill it. Let me get a reset on the go. Equally, why the VOD disappeared for it, because it was an hour long and it was like 20 minutes of just AFK. There was no real VOD to be had. It's easier to just wipe it, pretend it didn't exist, and go again. There is lumber in Ashgahet, is there? Okay. I might need to go and have a little bit of a poke around there. I've only got some data on lumber so far, apparently, then. But to get some routes put together, to get an idea of what's going on and where and stuff, it's early enough to get that sort of stuff done, and it's one of those things that once it is done, it is just done, right, you know? Snowing like crazy outside. Schools are off for a few days because of the weather. Snowing outside, schools are off because of the weather. Finland laughs at you. Finland laughs at you. Kids go to school in like, it can be -20 and the kids will go to school. I think there's a rule in place where the kids don't have to go outside if it goes below, I think, -10. I think that's the cutoff. I think that's the cutoff. I can't remember the exact, but I did work at a school over here for a little while, and it was kind of funny. Kids would turn up walking to school in like 17 layers of thermals and just get on with it. Kind of funny. 15 centimeters of thick snow here means no school. Yeah, in Finland, you just get on with it. But it depends. It depends. It depends on the infrastructure around you, doesn't it? When I used to live in the UK, there was just like a slight dusting of icing sugar, and the UK just fell apart. Kind of pathetic. Will there be some guides for the midnight professions on YouTube? We're getting to that point now, yeah. We're getting to the point where we'll start taking a more serious look at the professions. I have probably the best part of a 5,000 word document already written out for midnight. The problem is I am very, very tempted to just scrap it and put it in the bin. Now this sounds like crazy talk, but it's simply on the basis of that I am not convinced that guiding people to spend lots of time and effort with the professions in midnight is the wisest move. Simply because it feels very much like it could be a flash in the pan. The way the way everything is stacking up right now is that, sure, you got to be an idiot to not make gold at the beginning of an expansion, because there's gold, there's opportunities from every angle, but that is literally a 6 to 8 week window of opportunity. As soon as that 6 to 8 weeks has passed, my strong consideration is that the crafting professions are going to be really weak, really, really weak from a goal making perspective, with how things stand on the midnight beta right now, which puts me in a position of do I spend a huge amount of time trying to go into them in great depths of detail, or what will be of advantage to people for about 10 minutes? Or do I look more long term and try and put something together that might actually be useful for players for a little bit longer? Can we get a preview of the fishing chapter? Oh, the fishing chapter, yeah. The fishing chapter's easy to show you. Hang on, please hold. That's the dog. Oh, well, wait, that's probably a better camera to show you, actually. I wrote the fishing chapter on my hand here. Can you see it? Can you see it? Oh, yeah, that's right. It doesn't exist. Stupid fishing. Stupid fishing. I'm not a fisherman. I'm definitely not a fisherman. It falls under the category of farming. Yeah, so I'm reconsidering my approach to. I'm reconsidering the approach for how I deal with the guides. Now, as far as YouTube is concerned, a 5 to 10 minute mini overview of each profession is, of course, going to exist, right? But I'm not so convinced that spending 10 hours on each profession trying to optimize and figure out how to min max them is really that valuable. Not for me personally, and not to share with you guys, since I'm not convinced there's really much necessity to hammer the professions, because I'm not sure there's going to be that much gold at the end of the rainbow. It's starting to look very much like it will be an expansion that will heavily favor the gatherer, like heavily favor the gatherer. Crafting will be a circle jerk of single digit margins very quick. Very, very quick. but I've not, the problem I have is I can't 100% confirm that that is how it's going to happen. But the fact that they still haven't put Moxie on the profession tools, there's this big question mark looming over all of it, of how much Moxie are they going to put on them? Is the Moxie requirement of the profession tools going to be the bottleneck to your progression? Or are they going to make the profession tools relatively quick and easy to get, of which there will then fundamentally be no real bottleneck to the system? It's hard to tell right now. Kind of difficult, hard to tell. What did we sell over here? A Gilnean map. Sure. Hey, an elk plushie. I could do with selling a few more of those. Yes, sirree. I'm feeling very positive though about Decor. It has to be said. The fact that I'm not overly enthusiastic about the professions, the crafting professions, is generally counteracted by the fact that I'm starting to see that Decor could be the path to success. I even, I weirdly even think concentration is, it's teetering on the edge. It's, concentration's already standing on one leg right now. It's not going to take much for that to collapse. With frequent people, like, I'm losing track of the amount of times people have turned around to me and said that they've leveled like 200 alts in Remix. And I'm like, do you really understand what 200 alts means? Like, do you actually understand the ramifications of 200 alts? Like even if you can somehow manage to spend no more than 2 minutes, 120 seconds per character every few days, just dealing with 200 alts is just an astronomical amount of effort. It's more than a full-time job. Absolutely. Like, it's outrageous. Now, of course, there are some people out there that'll be more than willing to do exactly that. If the first few weeks of concentration crafting is lucrative enough, then great. But like we see with, let's look at any farm, for example, that has an advantage to multi-box it. The market pretty quickly balances itself around those who are willing to multi-box it, very quickly outlawing solo farmers. Mechanica is a good example of this, where you are kind of out of your mind trying to farm Mechanica on a single account. You are actually batshit crazy out of your mind trying to do that. Unless you are able to get into a hyperspawn 2x4 farm for the what do you call it, market research, you're not farming Mechanicas without a multi-box setup realistically these days, because the market has basically balanced around that fact that the people that can do it have pushed the price down enough so it's still, of value for them to do, but solo crafters just ain't got a hope. I think we might see a scenario very similar to that with the concentration alt, that the players that have got 10 to 20 alts, which throughout the War Within was plenty to make a sizable amount of gold without a huge amount of time investment, are going to get absolutely dumpstered on by the individuals that have got 100 alts and are crazy enough to try and deal with them every week. that it will mean that so much is produced by, once again, by a handful of physical individual players that the markets will just get absolutely crushed. Looking at what is actually worth crafting with concentration as well is kind of scary, because there's maybe only a couple of recipes where you might consider throwing concentration at in each profession, excluding enchanting, obviously. I'll take a universal language module sale at 20k. I buy these things pretty cheap quite regularly. There's the strong possibility that those players who are actually willing to do the mental grindy gymnastics of dealing with 100, 150, 200 alts will just, they will basically mean if you only have 20, the value proposition for only doing 20 is going to be so poor that most people just won't bother. That it will only be of value to do it if you have a huge amount of alts, and even then you've got to slightly hate yourself to do it. Oh, I bought a bunch of do I have warband access on this account? I don't. What I can do is I can put all this decor in the guild instead. Whoever does have warband access can pull it out and put it in the warbank. Professions are weak this time round. Isn't that going to encourage more people to use them going forward? Oh, that isn't going to encourage more people to use them going forward. No, you're right. You're right. There's... Which without... it's difficult to phrase this without it sounding elitist, but bear with me. Bear with me. The vast majority of players should feel that the activity that is most applicable to them when making gold is farming, right? Most people should look at something like herbalism and mining and go, you know what? That's the best way for me to go out and make 20k an hour. You should be able to pick up a character with basically no effort and go and do some legwork. Go and do some grunt work. Pick up some stuff, put it on the auction house, sell it to somebody else. That should be the path of least resistance to most players. There's no real initial upfront setup. There's no real risk involved. It is literally do work, get paid for it. That way, when the game is structured around having the vast majority of players do that, it then sort of weirdly frees up the table for those players who do want to spend a little bit more time, do want to focus a little bit heavier, do want to potentially risk some of their gold leveling professions and optimizing professions and such, to not only stretch their legs and do that, but also to see some value from doing that. Because ultimately, if there's no reward for doing that, you're right, people aren't going to do it. And this has been a bit of a looming thing since Dragonflight, really. Dragonflight, with the change up, the switch up of the gathering professions, although I do kind of like that gathering has spectries and stuff now, it does bring a little bit more enjoyment to gathering. The reality is it does create a bunch of friction for the majority of players to look at going and doing gathering, because once again, by season 2 in an expansion, if you have not done any gathering and you have not caught up or kept up with your knowledge points with gathering, even the market might dictate the people who are consistent with it might be the ones making 20k an hour. But if you haven't started, you can't just pick up a druid and go get 20k an hour anymore. You're going to have to be grinding for 10 hours at like 5k an hour, which equally has made most people not bother looking at gathering. And we've seen that the switch is slowly starting to happen where people have like, well, I'm not going to bother doing the basic easy herbalism and mining, the supplying of all of the materials for everybody else to do clever stuff with. They're going to skip a step and they're going to jump into doing concentration instead. And so hence people have spun up huge amounts of alts to be able to do that. And it makes the system lopsided. Your economy needs to be sort of triangular, where the majority of the players are content just living at the bottom, doing some basic, simple stuff. They're not looking to make millions of gold. They just want enough to cover potions and stuff. And herbing and mining and some simple gathering should facilitate that. But since Dragonflight and since the profession revamp, it wasn't too bad in Dragonflight because Dragonflight was very heavy on gathering still. There was still some good gold to be made in gathering throughout most of the expansion in Dragonflight. But the War Within has been pretty horrible for standard gathering. Herbing and mining is Herbing and mining has seen periods where you're struggling to make 10k an hour. You've had to like do something weird and wacky with like farming a follower dungeon for cloth drops or something. It's been a lot more of a niche activity. Or you've got to be 2x4 skinning in a group like an absolute mental person. It's been a real weird time overall. And it's created a lot of it's created a bit of an imbalance in the economy, I feel. You got tail cam. You missed the rest of the dog. The rest of the dog's here. The other two are here. Oh, you missed them. Solo and Alma are Solo, Nipsu, and Alma. They're all chilling now. Partly the reason why I'm late today, because these lot. I don't know if you can kind of see by the incredible amount of brightness coming through the window, but it snowed and the sun's out, which means these pair were mental this morning. It's like they are it's like they're solar powered. I swear these puppies are solar powered. Sun comes out and they lose their mind. It meant it took them flipping ages to chill out today. Dragonflight was good because the elementals, the War Within didn't have that, so that's kind of why. The rousing and the awakened was a key reason to why gathering was good throughout most of Dragonflight. And what I'm seeing and why I sort of think that the War Within is going that route as well is because moats are back, and moats are starting to look very much like they could be the same thing. Moats are kind of looking like looking like they're replicating the rousing and awaken system, but just without it being split into mini ones and big ones. You get infinity moats. But have you also seen how many of the damn things you need and how frequently they're used across all professions? I don't know. We had we had the elementals in what was it called? Leyline residue? Look at Leyline residue. Leyline residue, because it went into a consumable item, had great swings in price throughout the War Within. What was it? It went into enchanting mana oils or something, didn't it? But getting 500 an hour is a pretty mental amount. Is that really what people are expecting to be able to get? I could be completely off the mark here, but from what I've seen at least. Now, maybe my info is a little bit out of date because a lot of my testing was done from quite early on in the beta. I know, and I am aware they have tweaked the availability of moats, but I'm not sure it's going to have totally pushed it. I don't think it's going to have pushed the needle totally to the other direction. I think Midnight Ore will be similar to the War Within, where the basic copper is good, like bismuth. I don't think so, no. One of the major reasons why bismuth held its price so very highly was that it was used as a catalyst in other things. Bismuth was, what was it? Bismuth was used in crushing as part of jewel crafting. That was a big reason to why bismuth held its price so very highly. Because large quantities of bismuth was consumed there. In the creation of dust for the rest of jewel crafting stuff. Jewel crafters didn't predominantly feel the need to to prospect bismuth all that much. You were prospecting the uncommon ores. Then you needed the bismuth as a catalyst for then further crushing. So it created a big demand for it there. Secondly, you had it's difficult because a lot of the War Within materials were sort of their value was skewed because of thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy did a really good job of thaumaturgy did a really good job of like balancing or normalizing the price of a lot of materials, which is a system we do not have going into Midnight. There is nothing to balance the materials, which means whatever material ends up being the bottleneck will cause all of the other materials that are gathered at the same time as that bottleneck material to just be in freefall. There isn't that stabilization system. If you remember in Dragonflight, because Awakened was your rousings and your Awakened were the things that you were chasing after, it basically gave the basic ore and the basic herbs nowhere to go. And so they just stacked up and up and up and up and up. And of course, the price goes down and down and down and down and down in that scenario. The economy looks, from my perspective, as if it's going to act very much like what it did in Dragonflight. $500 with a build for the light fused, but of course on live it will be a bit lower. $250 to $300 with the primal and the void motes. I'd say $200 with the wild motes an hour is a decent estimate. Yeah, because you've actually got to kill things as well, haven't you? Which is going to dramatically slow down how quickly you can get them. I'm starving for copper, but have plenty of the tin and the silver to prospect on the leveling realm. You're sort of playing at the moment, aren't you? Relatively self-sufficient. I mean, you kind of have to on the beta right now because nothing's on the auction house. I've noticed as well, there's probably going to be a swing in the demand for the materials. When you're leveling up the professions, the leveling of the professions tends to use a very heavy amount of the basic raw materials. But the very second those professions are like fully leveled up, your need for the basic materials just falls off a cliff. And the only output for those basic materials is by people buying a chunk of them to maybe put forward for a work order, which is not going to cause heavy demand for them long. Like, you know, it's going to be a real swing from one direction to the other with the base materials. Copper, for example, could start off by being like a multiple of you know, the cost of the tin or the silver. but then it will also be subject to crashing the quickest when everybody stops using it for leveling the professions. Blacksmithing, if I remember rightly, though, does have a relatively steady consumption of copper, because the copper is then, you make the copper ingots, and the copper ingots then go into the, have they decided what they're calling them yet? The other two ingots. So there's always going to be a relatively high demand for the copper from that direction. Engineering is going to be an interesting one, because engineering is what you would also assume would consume a lot of the basic ore, or historically it usually has. But that's going to depend what you're recycling, isn't it? With engineering, because you might be recycling to get the other parts that you need. And the thing you recycle doesn't necessarily have to come from engineering in the first place. So recycling sort of, maybe, possibly, is a mini thaumaturgy, in terms of it will allow for whatever just happens to be the cheapest dog shit intermediate crafted thing to be broken down into its parts again by engineers. But the question is are engineers going to end up with something that requires them to do recycling en masse? The baby sparks, if they change the baby sparks to either be tradable, or they make the vanity items tradable or something, there's possibility there. I apologize if a lot of my ramblings don't make a lot of sense. This is kind of just like my inner monologue falling out. And it kind of requires you to have a bit of experience on the beta with the professions already, I am aware. I think the rank 2 herbs and ore will be more expensive than moats. Do you think? I need to dig my druid out on the beta, don't I, and get it some more knowledge points and have a little bit of a play test in each of the zones and see how it feels again. You're getting way more moats than you are getting the rank 2 herbs and ore. Okay. It's difficult to calculate, but what needs to be looked at really is where are things like moats predominantly consumed? Sure, there'll be a lot of consumption on moats at the beginning with everybody leveling the professions, especially if people are trying to get, if knowledge points become important, people will be harvesting first-time crafts. So there'll be a heavy consumption of moats from that direction, and that will be relatively generic across all of the professions. Then, though, from that point on, where's the consumption going to come from? Is the consumption only going to be predominantly work orders, which is, they're often used in large amounts, but once, once and once ever. Professions like alchemy are the important ones to look at, because they produce not just commodity items, but they produce consumable commodity items. So this is where, if your potion of choice, if your flasks of choice end up consuming more moats than they do herbs, there's even if you can farm up more moats, the consumption rate from alchemists could just be unbelievable. One of the problems we had in Dragonflight was that even the basic healing potion took rousing fire, I think it was, or something stupid. And this basically meant that you were always limited by your supply of rousing fire. You could get all the hock and bloom in the world you ever wanted. You were always constrained by the rousing fire, I think it was. And that had such massive knock-on effects to the rest of the professions. I don't know. Did Blizz revoke the world drop loot changes? How are people planning to farm the moats? Well, to my understanding, you're not getting moats from farming mobs. You're pretty exclusively getting them from gathering. I don't know if anybody's found any mobs that you can kill on the regular in order to get moats, but obviously there's the mini mobs that spawn from a herb or an ore node. But I'm talking about just, general chilling in the zone, maybe hyper spawnable kind of mobs. I've not stumbled across any that drop moats. But of course, if there are some, then people will hyper spawn the shit out of them and farm them, but they will then probably also be subject to the loot drop change. The loot drop change, though, does seem to have been tweaked a little bit and is more focused on, like, BOEs. Greens especially. Green BOE drops are, like, almost instantly turned off after you start killing a few mobs. That said, I've had it on good authority that the vendor value of most BOE drops has been nuked into the floor, which might allow Blizzard to ease up on the restriction of them being dropped. One of the reasons I think why Blizzard, slammed the brakes on people being able to farm BOEs was because their vendor value was scaling pretty heavily, and bots were just raw gold farming. The difficulty is all of these like little subtle behind the scenes changes, they're never going to get talked about publicly. Blizzard's never going to come forward and tell us what they're trying to do, because that would also be telling the bots what they're trying to do, so they don't do it. Material costs on the mass crafted items seems too low to me. If you get moats from herbs and ore, cloth is going to be so expensive they're going to have to make changes unless people find a bugged farm. Yeah, cloth is a concern, isn't it? Because you have to be, firstly, you have to be a tailor. Secondly, you have to be a tailor that is spec'd into getting good at getting cloth, which I think at some point a dev has definitely thought about, because they've chosen to weirdly put plus skill in real odd places in the tailoring spectre. And I wonder if that's to make people put more knowledge points into areas that they would have probably just avoided previously. Which will passively make those tailors just get good at collecting cloth, even if they didn't really choose to spec into it. But yeah, the fact that this is another one. With tailors being the only ones responsible for farming cloth, even within the War Within, cloth was like 20 gold a piece. Cloth was one of the more expensive materials throughout most of the expansion, and it was only kept at that price because Thaumaturgy created cloth. At least the rank 2 stuff, anyway. Once again, the balancing act of Thaumaturgy sort of covered over the cracks in the design of the entire system a little bit. There is heaps, but you do a 20 mob pull and you get like maybe 2 cloth. I would say don't invest in cloth early. It's getting a buff for sure. It's one of those where, you know, you can try and hunt what one person can try and hunt as much as you can on the beta to try and find this shit out. But it'll be some random dude that stumbles across something and then tells his mate, and then they go try it, and you know, it's you know, finding the optimum farms is often one of those things that requires community focus before you really find the good, you know, the juicy bits. There's always something that somebody finds that's a little bit broken that produces large amounts of stuff outside of the design goals. Yeah, and not being able to test in groups very easily as well is a problem because, you know, there's an you like a group of 5 people is exponentially more powerful. They are more powerful than the sum of their parts. Which is why 2x4 farming is so effective. Which you just can't do on the beta. So Matt's dropped normally again now. Sorry, all the questions. I feel like I missed them in. It's not so much that Matt's drop normally, it's just that they do drop. They don't seem to be subject to the same level of restriction as BOEs do. But they're still not. There are some odd things like primal fires and stuff. I know people are still reporting that they're just basically impossible to farm for right now. I don't keep up 100% with this sort of stuff, or at least a lot of it I don't see with my own eyes. I'm more going by what trusted individuals have told me. What about the Darkmoon decks? Well, they seem to have slowed down the rate in which cards drop. But once again, this is another one of those things that, like, you can draw that conclusion when it's just you playing through the campaign and testing on the beta, but what happens when tens of thousands of players all pile in? We didn't really, or at least I didn't notice anybody cleverly predict that Darkmoon cards were going to drop like absolute fucking candy at the beginning of the War Within. Oh, 70k here. What did we sell here? Oh, just a few bits and bobs. More half-hill cook pots. Love these things. So that's another one of those where it looks like they've toned them down a little bit. For example, I did an entire playthrough of a level 80 to 90 playthrough on a druid doing the campaign, and I don't think I saw a single Darkmoon card drop the entire time. But once again, getting into dungeons is a bit of a chore on the beta because there's not many people queuing for dungeons. If dungeons end up having cards drop more frequently, we could end up being in the same thing again. Inscription seems to be more focused towards Darkmoon cards, though, this time. Which would lead you to at least hope that they've tried to make the cards a little bit rarer. Otherwise, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot speccing into Darkmoon cards again. These economic predictions are quite challenging sometimes. Yeah, the scenario is the same. You take the ace through till 8. You take the 8 individual cards and you craft a trinket from it. That trinket of which will then be disenchantable. But it heavily depends on the rate in which the cards turn up, you know. Lost about 20 million in the War Within, hoping that they'll nerf the Dark Moon card drops. It's a weird one because I'm not totally sure whether it was done by design or not in the War Within, because of how they changed enchanting. Because the very easy trinket creation basically fueled enchanters being able to disenchant and get all their knowledge points very quickly. And Blizzard never changed that. They very much could have if they wanted to. But on the flip side, when enchanters were popping up from every angle for the purpose of creating enchants with concentration, maybe it was by design. Maybe it was a happy accident that Blizzard were just like, sure, fine, we'll let this slide. Might be worth a gamble doing one Dark Moon card spec just because most people are going to ignore it. While I'm going into Midnight with, you know, probably 4 if not 5 of each profession. Meaning, yes, I will probably designate one of my scribes to be Dark Moon just on the off chance that they do end up being very good. I'm not going to completely ignore it. The fact, like I said, the fact that they do appear to have put some effort into twisting, enchanting inscription more towards the if you look at the tree, you look at the entire tree for the Dark Moon crafting this time, it's not just like 4 mini nodes, it's an entire flipping tree. Which would half make you think that if they've gone to the effort of making it its own designated tree and not a branch of another tree, that they would have at least then tried to make sure that it was worth the effort, you know? Anecdotally, I think you could probably be getting 30 to 40 cards an hour currently. Haven't hard tested though. And you mean in the War Within right now, or you mean like on the beta Midnight? There's also I can't remember what it's called, but there's that item that you gain. I think I got them via skinning, you know. That weird essence thing. Which then allows you to throw some inks at it to actually make the card. Thalassians? Is that what they're called? Yeah, there's that item that you combine with inks in order to make the cards. If that still only comes from skinning, but you can tailor a skinner in the direction of getting more of them, that could at the very least allow you to farm and create cards at quite a good rate. You make cards out of the green items without the inks? Oh, I thought it was... Maybe I'm misremembering this. I thought it was a catalyst kind of product. You use the ink, 2 inks and one of those Or am I confusing it with the converting from one deck archetype to another, maybe? Is it an either or? It's 2 inks or one of the... Oh, okay, sure. Trying to do all of this from memory. But even that system alone goes to show that, well, you would hope if they've put some system in, if they've put some specific item that can be farmed for, or is a random drop, if they've put some item like that in the game, you would kind of hope that that would naturally mean that they can nerf the shit out of the drop rate of the cards naturally. Valdrakken Fence. Not getting too many decors. Why is... Oh, this is a realm we shouldn't be posting things on. Not getting too many decor sales today. Ancient Plans. Erect Crusader. If transcribing requires 2 inks and one of those green items to make, what's the point of transcribing? Because you can already cherry pick which archetype you craft a card into. It's not entirely random. So, what if it was random? If the creation was random, then the law of averages would mean that with enough crafts, you would get an equal number of all deck types, ace through till 8, which is a system we've had before. But the fact that you can say, I want to make an ace of this, sorry, not you can't say the number, but you can specifically say, I want to craft one of this deck type. Then if there is a trinket that ends up being the popular one, you just craft the one that you know makes the most gold, and you don't craft the shit. Why would you ever need to convert from one deck type to the other if you can already deterministically choose what to craft in the first place? Oh, inscribing with that is now giving you just a random card. There's not the... Have they removed... Because it was 4 different recipes at one point. Have they merged it all into one? I mean, if they've done that, that makes sense. We should maybe jump on the beta and just have a look at this in a bit more detail, shouldn't we? Trying to not get too distracted by squirrels. I'm going to keep on track a little bit with what I set out to do today. Love the discussions, but you know me, I am so easily swayed in by shiny things. You get more card drops and Thalassians just by having the scribe. Taylor Scribe is still going to be that build. That makes sense. 6K for a rug. If there's a way to, I'm wondering if tailoring enchanting is also a combo. As I sense that, or I would say probably more so that you would pair tailoring with enchanting if your focus on enchanting is disenchanting. Would be my guess here. That said, if cloth ends up being an absolute ball ache, you might not be disenchanting tailoring braces like we historically have. You might be disenchanting something else. Although I do still think that regular cloth bolts are boring. Not even a talent, you just be a scribe and you kill mobs and you'll notice. Oh, okay. Just strictly by proxy of being a scribe. Much like how sort of like old cloth drops were boosted for tailors back in the days. You didn't have to do anything, you just had to be a tailor. Right, we got many realms left? Not too many, actually. Not too many. I need to do a quick pass on this second account, give it warband access, and because I've got a whole bunch of decor that I bought yesterday, needs to get filtered out onto this account. My shaman's a scribe and got 28 of the Thalassian bear motes quite quickly. If you can be a scribe and you can then hit a 2x4 farm hyperspawn that is known to drop them, that'll then be the way that you generate those. And if you can wombo combo that at the same time as also getting cloth, it could still end up being the farmer build, couldn't it? $80 to $90 and got one. Okay. I'd made the assumption it came from skinning, because I think the only time I ever got one was when I was also doing some skinning, but maybe it wasn't from skinning so much as it was I just killed the mob and it dropped from the mob. Skinning wasn't the cause, it was just coincidence. Do Murder Row follow a dungeon? Is that the one? Yeah. There's one, isn't there, where there's like huge amounts of humanoids in the first room. I wonder if they looked at the Dark Flame Cleft farm and was like, we're going to need to repeat this again, aren't we? Be really interesting sometimes to be a fly on the wall at Blizzard HQ for any of the devs that are actually responsible for the professions and the economy. Because it's big enough and it's complex enough that it's not just one guy that it's not, it's not the donut boy that is responsible for it anymore. It's probably a reasonably large team effort to get it all succinct and working with each other properly. It also leads me to wonder just how much Blizzard devs who are responsible for it lurk in the background of streams and how much YouTube content they consume, and they never make themselves public, but I think that's by design. The loot bug is existing in the dungeons too. Oh. In the broom cupboard in the basement. Relegated. How we doing, Woo? Jeweled amber whelpling. Sales a sale. Wise Pandarian bed. Jesus, 20k for a bed? Isn't that like a 50 lumber job? Oh, I don't have the crafting breakdowns. $800 gold. What am I selling so cheap? A random ass battle staff. Why do I even have that for sale? My operations are meant to be set up that I basically don't care about anything under 5k. Apparently not. Sometimes a whoopsie does slip in. No, or at least so far, no miraculous wonder sale. Which does tend to limit the overall total from doing this. If we can at least, you know, do a token plus, we're good. Making millions, 800 gold at a time. Yeah, it's like doing a world quest. How many more we got? 4 more. 4 more. The lumber price is looking like today. $215 gold per lumber is still the cheapest, and that's the War Within lumber, Thornic Fir lumber. But your Alemba lumber, Shadow Moon lumber, Cold Wind lumber, Bamboo lumber, all still 400 gold plus. Even Dragon Pine lumber actually is 400 gold plus. The only cheap ones are the War Within. That's it. Even vanilla price has gone up. What's vanilla one? Ironwood lumber? That's up to 400. That's up to 340 gold. Vanilla lumber's gone up in value. Goblin lights. Is anybody doing anything for New Year's Eve this evening? Or are we all just, degen goblins who are going to sit indoors and play video games all night? I have vowed way ahead of time to not really be doing anything, but that's mostly because I'm somewhat concerned about how the two puppies are going to react to the fireworks. They've heard a few booms and a few bangs over the last few evenings. They haven't really reacted too much more than to go, what's that? But of course, single explosion can be ignored. When it goes boom, boom, boom for an hour straight, they might hide under the sofa. We'll have to see. Just go to bed early or play. All that works. New Year's is overrated. I think everybody's aware that's the case. Would you like to spend twice as much on the same evening out for no reason whatsoever? Yes or no? Put some fireworks on the TV with the subwoofer. Condition them a bit. Yeah, I thought about doing that, and I just kind of forgot. I might do that this afternoon just to see what the see if I can find, I don't know, like New York's firework display or Disneyland firework display or something on YouTube with sound. Probably a good idea, actually. Get a sneak preview. But I've also noticed that noises on the TV are sort of like they know it comes from the speakers, if that makes sense. Like dogs barking on the TV. My dogs don't really seem to ever react if there's a dog barking on the TV. But if a dog walks past the house and barks, then they fucking know about it, you know? I've always had dogs who freaked with fireworks, but the youngest cocker spaniel either completely ignores or just positively likes them. If outdoors, he's weird. Well, this dogs can change though. My eldest dog, Papal, who has unfortunately gone to sleep now, but she, when she was a puppy, used to love sitting at the window watching the fireworks on New Year's Eve. She used to love it. She was just mesmerized by all the lights and stuff. She absolutely loved it. But then in her older years, she was the only dog that we had. Like she became the one that was scared of them. I think it went from being pretty colors and a bit of noise in the background to, oh, I don't like these bangs anymore. Please film it if the doggos attack the TV and break it. I did find some, on that topic, I did find some claw marks on the front of my flipping TV the other day, which I'm not too happy about. But luckily, they're only light scratches that you can't see them when the TV's on. But I can definitely, the problem is I definitely know they're there, and I can definitely see them when the TV's off. So one of the dogs at some point has been interested by the TV. I think it's Alma, because she sits on the sofa and she sees her reflection in the TV, and she's like, "Oh, another dog," and has clearly gone up and pawed it a few times, and has managed to scratch the front of the screen. But how could you get mad at that, cutie? Hello, focus. Hello, focus. How could you get mad at that bundle of fluff? Cute and innocent. Butter wouldn't melt at the moment. And Sulo's chilling. He seems to like hugging the wall for some reason. Not quite sure why. And Nipsu is just flopped. Nipsu's losing all her fur right now. I keep finding black tumbleweeds. She's chosen. She's chosen the end of December to lose her undercoat and replace it, which is not the best choice, but it is what it is. You don't get mad, you just move the TV. True. Very true. It's maybe, if I see them do it again, it might be the incentive for me to finally get around to putting the TV up on the wall. The reason I haven't put the TV up on the wall so far is simply because I don't actually need to. It's the right height when you're watching TV on the sofa anyway. And people all too frequently make the mistake of putting their TV high up on the wall, and then your neck does this. It's not good. Why people who put their TVs above the fireplace are doing it wrong. Sorry if that's any of you guys, but you're doing it wrong. I love her ears. Yeah, she's got they're not, you can't see it very well now, but Alma's ears are like floppy and bouncy. They that's as up as her ears ever go. They usually flop. When she walks, they just bounce, which is quite funny. Which one peed on the couch? I don't know. I don't know. The fact that they managed to pee on the whole fucking thing, though, makes me think it was Sulla, because, you know, he comes with the hose. Alma tends to, if she pees somewhere, she, you know, has to squat to pee. Peeing and running is not really too much of a thing. Oh, hello. 124,000 gold. What we sell here? Oh, just a bunch of stuff. Take that. Diplomat banner, scaled twilight mosaic, fence post, scarecrow, storage crate, couple of storage crates. Cool. That's going to help the grand total. Same here again, not a lot, but just, you know, a couple of odds and ends. Random ass old school recipe. And nothing. You seem to like the baseboard trim corners. Yeah. Yeah. This is the advantage of having the... I just know them as kickboards or skirting boards, because I would rather they chew those than the wall, because they can be easily replaced. Replastering a wall is not so straightforward. Zinger Box New York New Year's Eve special? What's a Zinger Box? My first thought was KFC. Chicken Zinger. Chicken Zinger meal. Oh, it is KFC. Okay. I was wondering if that is Aussie slang for fireworks or something. There's only about 3 KFCs in Finland. There's not many of them, but they have at least made their way over here. There's a shopping centre called Isoomena, which translates to Big Apple, where there's a KFC there, which occasionally, if we go shopping, if we make the trip in that direction, we'll pick up a KFC. Stupid expensive, though. They don't get popcorn chicken right. They can't do popcorn chicken here. Either it's me fantasizing about what popcorn chicken used to be, or they just don't get it right. But at least the chicken they use is chicken that has, 2 wings, 1 head, 2 legs. It's not like McDonald's chicken that's clearly mutated beyond recognition. Girlfriend misses fried chicken from Singapore. Can't get good fried chicken in Finland. Oh, yeah. Singapore probably do real good fried chicken, don't they? Yeah, fried chicken's hard to come by in Finland, which is surprising because, quite like chicken. They quite like chicken in this country. Right. Last realm. Any big sales on these last ones? 20k here. Nothing huge. Nothing huge on any of these realms today. Yeah, Tampere will be good for wings. That's kind of like the home of wings, isn't it? We went to an ice hockey match in Tampere at one point and had some wings. I haven't had it for years. It used to be goated. They cooked the tenders. It used to have the crispy strips. 11 out of 10. Oof. Sounds good. I'm getting. I see now. I started my stream later today. That means I'm getting hungry earlier, which is dangerous. Probably shouldn't talk about food too much. Although I've got some nice dinner this evening. I'm gonna cook some. I've got some lamb tenderloins. Best part of the lamb, in my opinion. And I've got those on the marinade. Just like some oil and herbs. Cook those up. Do some garlic potatoes along with them, I think. Maybe a bottle of wine. Although if I want a bottle of wine, I need to go buy it. Guten Tag. Greetings from Germany. Welcome in. Welcome in. What's this thing that's going on? I've seen huge amounts of German streamers recently doing some classic event or something. I've seen a lot of people jumping on that. Some flipping ridiculous stream numbers. Some of them. I saw Nigura had like 17,000 viewers or something yesterday. Absolutely smashing it. Oh, it's their version of OnlyFans. Is that what it is? Oh, okay. That makes sense. I spotted something going on with it, but of course, it's with it all being in German, it's difficult for me to follow along. Community event on the classic hardcore. Ah, that's why everybody's doing hardcore all of a sudden. I see. Right, let's do a quick tally up and see what we did numbers-wise. 317,000. That's not a lot, is it? 120 on this realm, though, on this account. 62. Jesus, this account's not got many sales. 16,000. That's not flipping worth it, was it? Where's my calculator? So what we got here? 317 plus 120 plus, is that 63? 63 plus, let's call that 17. Oh, well, that's a nice round number. All right, still did over 500,000. Still did over 500,000, which is good. It'll also do more than a token per, like, mailbox opening. It's not quite a token a day, it's a token every 2 days. But it's good. It's interesting to see that the amount of Decor sales we're getting on this account, the amount of Decor sales we're getting on this account is seemingly about stable at about 150 to 200k a day. Now I've spread some Decor out to this second realm as well. I'm starting to see these numbers creep up as well. This is why I need to pad out a few more of these realms with some more Decor, which is exactly what I need to do now. It would be nice by the time we get all 4 of these accounts up and running if we could get that like 1,000,000 gold a day. Or well, we'll start with 1,000,000 gold every 2 days, but 1,000,000 gold a day is the long-term goal, I think. Any tips for starting a second posting account? Don't do it until you have a real good need for it. Because you've got to remember, the sooner you throw up that second account, you double your costs, right? It goes from 400k a month to 800k a month, which can that second account needs to very comfortably pay for itself, which can actually be more challenging than you would expect. But I would start going from one account. When you find that you're bouncing between characters on your one account, and you're like, oh, I need to do some posting and cancel scanning, but I also need to do some farming lumber. When you're doing a lot on the one account and you feel as if you can't do everything you want to do, then it's time to maybe move to the second account. And the smart thing to do is usually to offload the auction house stuff to the second account. Keep your main account where you have all of your characters, where you have all of your, your professions set up and stuff. Let that be the account that plays the game, and can do all the farming and stuff on it if needs. But the second account, you can quickly make like 20 characters on 20 different realms, and you can quite quickly make that second account start doing something. Even if it's just, give each character. What I do is I give each character 100k gold so that they can do a sniper scan and start scanning for deals. Now, I don't do an awful lot of like redistribution of the deals I find to the other realms. I mostly just buy things that I spot are cheap and just resell them back on the realm of which they get bought from. But yeah, it's a slow and steady thing. But you go to 2 accounts quite quickly. Then once you have sort of optimized 2 accounts, 3 has very little usage and 4 has even less. You tend to go from having 1 to 2 to then maybe making the jump to 5. Because as soon as you have 5, you can fill a party. That's when you can start really getting some extra bonus out of having the extra accounts. But even I struggle at the moment to make these extra accounts like pay for themselves. I mean, if I look at the last month on this account, it's not very healthy in terms of actual sales that have come in on this one. This account, to be fair, the last month is probably not good numbers to look at because Christmas and taking 10 days off and whatever. But this account has sold enough to pay for itself.
Are you just glad to see me?
This one is probably my weakest account and is probably actually at a cost right now. Okay, it's sold a little bit, but it's also got spendings. Hey, Mr. Norton with the gifties, my man. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Both, I hope.
If you're in the right place at the right time and you got yourself a gifted sub, also please remember to say your thank yous. Appreciate that, Mr. Norton.
Let's make sweet, sweet profit together.
Better to start after buying some tokens from Midnight Release to get a bit of... Well, yeah.
Both, I hope.
My hope is that with Midnight's launch, I'll be able to like make enough tokens with all of these accounts to just like front load them a whole year of game time.
Let's make sweet, sweet profit together.
You know, at the moment, 400k a token times 5. That's 2 million gold a month just to keep the accounts online. They're all flopped. Nips was awake, but the puppies are asleep. Having a few characters leveled on the second account can be handy too, though, depending on what you want to have it doing. True. There's value in having your farming character on a second account. There's definitely value in having a farming character on the second account, even if you then want to just like, you know, /follow, train a couple of druids, for example. That's worked well for some people with Decor recently, also.
Let's make sweet, sweet profit.
What's my big expenses on this realm? How have I spent 1.3 million on this realm? Have I been buying? Oh, yeah, I did buy quite a bit of Decor in the early days on this realm as well. All 22 days ago, look. Okay. Turns out this account bought quite a bit of my Decor. Or maybe not quite a bit, but a substantial amount. Did I really spend 20k on a black tabby cat? That seems like too much. Must have been a moment of weakness. Lazy Day, thank you very much. Fruit Bat, absolutely incredible usage of the old Prime there. Thank you. Appreciate it. But yeah, it can be... And the more accounts you expand up to, the greater the risk there is of you ending up not actually making any gold simply by the fact that you take a week off and you like all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, that's, you know, no. It's 500,000 gold a week is the way I look at it. So if I take a week off, you know, it costs me 500k gold to take a week off. And yeah, exactly. That's it. The more it starts to feel a little bit more workified.
I hope.
Oh, boys and girls, thank you. Zaya with the bits. Happy New Year to you. Appreciate that. Thank you. And Chris gifting a sub to Cat. Appreciate that one. Thank you. You guys have kicked off a hype train. Very much appreciated, thank you. Right, what I do need to do though, is because I actually went on a bit of a spender yesterday, I need to grab the Decor from the guild bank here. And I've got a whole bunch more Decor in the war bank that I need to syndicate out across these realms quickly. Where it fits. Stuff I found on the cheap yesterday. So let's how much have we got on this auction house already? 48 things. There's room. Let's do a short let's move everything
Let's make
first.
sweet profit together.
Oh, I dressed you with the gifties. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate this, boys and girls. You absolutely don't need to, but thank you very much.
Let's make sweet profit
Thank you.
together.
Want to say thank you for the work your entire year. Happy New Year. Hey, Chris, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's make sweet
Level 4 hype
together.
train. Oh my god. We're moving up in the world. Choo choo. I noticed the other day Bear has this cool like train animation at the bottom of her stream when a hype train kicks off. I need to work out how she does that because it had all of the people's names in it as well. I thought that was really cool. Little for an actual proper choo choo. Late Christmas present, thank you.
Is that your wallet?
I appreciate that.
You're just glad to see me. Both, I hope.
Fiesta, kick it off. What's what's a world clock looking like? When is it actually New Year's in Australia? Are we nearly there? Are we nearly there? Oh, we're getting there. Oh my god. What, like 20 minutes for Sydney? If you're on the right side. Getting there. Flipping hell. How many time zones do you want, Australia? Calm down. 1, 2, 3, 4 time zones? Holy. How the hell do you cope? Damn. Usually watch the VODs later in the day at 1.5 times speed, so it's a little bit different to listen at normal speed. Yeah, I probably sound odd. Probably sound odd at normal speed. Russia has 9. Oh, they always have to do things differently, don't they? I love Bear's Train. I've been going through people's streams to get ideas in case I need to start a streaming career. Yeah, that little train thing's kind of cool. I would happily just pinch it and just have the same thing because I think it's really cool. But I'd want to figure out how to well, it depends how she does it. I don't know if it's a program that runs it or something in the background. I'm not sure. It'd be cool to have a train, but maybe change the graphics up a little bit. Make it a goblin train. Sure, there's a way to customize it. Right, let's see if any of this can fit on this realm. Russia does not do the whole hour shift twice a year thing. Oh, I mean, I wish the rest of the world didn't do that. The whole clocks changing thing is a complete scam in my opinion. Pain in the ass, that is, you know. Absolute pain in the ass, the clock's changing all the time. More profession beta testing coming soon. Yes, that is pretty much all of January's plan. January's plan is to take a further look at each of the professions in a bit more detail on the beta, do a little bit more just general overall beta testing. There will probably be a week in January where I try and just like put WoW down for a few days and play another game. If it's something that I think is stream worthy, I will bring you guys along for that adventure as well. And of course, we've got pre-patch at the end of January, which will probably take up the last week of January. There's usually a few bits and pieces going on, isn't there? I think the pre-patch goes live. When is it? January 20th, 21st? Can't remember. But then there's a week until the event starts. So we'll see what happens with that. Probably there's going to be Twitch drops and all sorts of stuff for that. So Choo Choo on a hype train level 4, boys and girls. Thank you very much for that. Greatly appreciated. What's in the chest? Me sweat emote. Sweaty emote. Go on, Choo Choo. Thank you, boys and girls. Appreciate that. I actually quite like that emote. Weirdly. Some of the Choo Choo emotes are pretty terrible, but that one's not too bad. I like that one. Thank you. Dropped a couple of game ideas in the Discord. Yeah, I saw those. Thank you. I will dig through those and see what's what. Go Arc Raiders. It hasn't lost almost any audience after 2 months. Well, it hasn't lost any audience, but flipping Peanut is stolen all of it. I think I'm gonna have to chalk up Arc Raiders to one of those games that I'm late to the party on. I do worry I'm just slightly too late to the party on that one. I bet there is absolute giga sweats that know exactly what they're doing. And I would turn up and look an absolute fool. Plus, it's also, you know, it seems to be focused on 3-player cooperative, which I don't know how does it feel more solo, because I know I would probably end up focusing on playing it more solo. But I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I kind of feel I'm late to the party on that one. Christmas will have brought a lot of new people to it, though. You're all right. Can solo? They have solo queue priority. Okay. I'll put it on the consider list. It does look like quite an interesting game. There is friendly matchmaking if you don't kill anyone. Oh, is that what it is? If you go out, if you actually start pew-pewing people, you get matchmaked with only others that have pew-pewed. I mean, that's quite clever, isn't it? There's a new game launching on the 6th, Star Rupture. I've not heard of that one. If you're a new player, it will be like a PvE experience to get acquainted with the game. You're tempting me. I'm not going to lie. You're tempting me. Out of ham yet? No, I opened the fridge this morning while sorting breakfast, and I was like, flipping out. Still ham. Like, it's going to be 2026, and I'm still going to have Christmas ham left. I did have a couple of ham and mustard sandwiches, though, yesterday. First person open world base building with some advanced combat and tons of exploration. Okay. And pea soup with the rest of the ham. That's a shout. Guess you in Finland eat the same kind of Christmas ham as in Sweden. Love it. Yeah. Some nice roast ham. It's flipping crashed again. called? Star Rupture. Star Rupture. First person open world base. Come back. First person open world base building game with advanced combats and tons of exploration. Play alone or in a group in this sublime and ever changing planet. Extract and manage resources. Create complex industrial systems. Fight off hordes of alien monsters. Okay. Unlocks 6th of January. Explore vast open world, rich in resources, places, and secrets to be found. Discover the beauty of this constantly reborn, dangerous world torn apart by repeated cataclysms. Pretty easy to run. Is this... It does look kind of... Factorio meets Satisfactory, doesn't it? Before midnight, sorry, not midnight, before the War Within launched, I played Foundry, which was kind of cool. It's the fact this is releasing in early access, though, and not releasing in, like... It's releasing in early access, not releasing. Which is the only thing that puts a big question mark on it for me. You've even got the beeper from Satisfactory. Do some mining, hook shit up. Trailer hits different with Beyonce in the background, mind, but... Shoot a rock. Get resources, I guess. Doesn't look too bad. They had an early access weekend where it was mostly playable. It looked pretty good. Oh wow, that's starting to look cool, isn't it? When you get your production lines all in order. It doesn't seem to be too much focus on the base building. Interesting. Maybe we'll pay attention to that in a couple of days. We'll have a look. Slap it on the old wish list. Slap it on the wish list. We'll remember about it. Did I post everything on this realm? What did I do? Did I do the post on this realm? Looks like I did. Actually, I need to make sure I don't end up with two... Oh, there's only 22 auctions on this realm. Pokemon Champions is coming out this month, similar to Pokemon Stadium for Switch, Android, and iOS. Don't own a Switch. Obviously, with Nintendo being Nintendo, it's difficult to play the games unless you do. You know, touchy subject, but I enjoyed Pal World. We enjoyed the shit out of Pal World. Which clearly wasn't a Pokemon clone, by the way. Clearly not. Thinking about Alchemy Dawn crafting for my main in Midnight. Do you think those two are good for stacking on one character? Stacking or profession pairing, I guess, isn't really so much of a thing anymore. There are very few scenarios where it matters. If you are going out farming, for example, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. Inscription and tailoring is a good combo these days, just because you need to be a scribe to get more Dark Moon card stuff. You need to be a tailor to get more cloth drops. So that sort of starts to make sense. Did I not post anything on this realm? So yeah, that starts to make sense. But I mean, yeah, alchemy, jewel crafting, they're both very good professions. There's not really much synergy or link between the two. In terms of that, your one is going to use herbs, one is going to use ore. You're going to have a lot of materials floating around on that one character, which sometimes you might tend to pair your professions up more to help with you know, okay, this is my character that does ore related stuff, you know, blacksmithing and jewel crafting together, for example, or that sort of way of doing it. But there's no downside to pairing any of the professions together really these days. I don't actually want to post all of these on the auction house, I don't think. I think I'm starting to get too much on this realm. Clearly a good realm for posting stuff, though. Question is how many sales have I made here recently? Is it that worth? Yeah, that's definitely way too many auctions on this realm. What the Christ? 4.4 mil? That doesn't make sense. I need to cancel like 23 of these auctions off this realm. There's too much here. That'll do. That lot can go somewhere else. That not in a group. That's not grouped up. That in the guild. I'll eventually make its way into a group. No love for my winter car. I never played my summer car. But actually, Chalida, I have you to blame for Power Wash Simulator, of which I've quite recently probably put 20 hours into Power Wash Simulator 2. Not sorry. It's fun. It's kind of chill. It's absolutely not a stream game, though. I'm wondering why all of my decor is in. Oh, I know why. Because 48-hour listings, isn't it? Hmm. Stupid 48-hour listings are going to bone me over here. It's an ASMR stream with that game. Or Power Wash Simulator. Yeah, maybe. What was I cleaning yesterday? Some sort of log cabin with a plane on it. And a space center. It's weird. I'll happily sit at the computer and play Power Wash Simulator, but if the wife asks me to hoover the house, I get all moody. Sure, fine, cleaning. Ugh. It's man logic for you. The playlist today is different, by the way. You might have noticed. I just found some New Year's Eve 2025 playlist. So I don't know what half of this is. K-pop Demon Hunters. What the Christ? Have you bought all that Decor, by the way? Yeah. I'm not farming lumber really. This is all eternal bag errors. This is all scouted from cheap realms. Farming lumber is it's the guaranteed way to make a profit, but it's a little bit too much like hard work. VR headset and the exact blueprint of a house on a cleaning simulator. That would be quite fun, actually. Weirdly. Oh, this is Silver Moon. This is why there's nothing posted here. Proton, how much? Welcome in. Good day to you. Happy New Year's Eve. And shortly, maybe Happy New Year's Day. Appreciate the kind words. Does Decor sell anymore? Yeah. You're not getting instant sales, like you were a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, absolutely. I'm pulling in. What was the numbers? I can't remember. I think it was about 500k. 500k of sales over the last 48 hours. 517. There we go. Wonder if player housing is eventually going to become the game that to bring a bunch of people in. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because I think they need to. It's going to take a little while. They're clearly going to have to do all of the World of Warcrafty kind of things with it first. So, we're going to have midnight launch, and they're going to have the neighborhoods and the endeavors and the gameplay loop side of housing, and you can already start collecting all of the decor. But of course, at the moment, all of the decor is mostly what you'd expect it to be in World of Warcraft, if that makes sense. It's good that the dye system's in already, meaning you can sort of at least customize the color of stuff a little bit. But it could be one of those things that it takes like a year or two to really find its feet, because it won't be until we have, you know, decor packs and theme packs, this sort of stuff that pops in, that people will start paying more attention from outside of WoW, I think. I'm quite sure there's a lot of people from games like Final Fantasy that will, they haven't already, that they will definitely give it a go. And it definitely feels like it has the ability, to be very good and very long lasting. They just need to make sure they keep up with it. Some sort of sharing of design system, some sort of blueprint system, feels almost mandatory as the next thing they really work on making sure they get implemented. Because there'll be some very clever people, very creative people that will do some really cool things. And at the moment, the only way that they have to share those is to like make little guides and video how they made them and tell other people how they can go out and make them. But, you know, if they slap in a blueprint kind of system where you can select a bunch of items and say, here's an import export code, go, that will make it boom. That will definitely get people interested. A bit of a long boy party going on here. Rift Housings was good. Soul has been streaming and releasing a lot of community house tours. Yeah, this sort of stuff is that sort of stuff goes to show just that, you know, there's been a thirst for it for 2 decades in the game. Some of the people who are really sort of good at it are really good at it. I mean, I've barely put I've not touched it, to be honest. The creative side, I've just like, I knew this was going to happen from the word go. Like for me, player housing has always been just another nice little way to make gold. Like, I'm not overly fussed about building a player house. It's something I will probably get more into, but I'm not so fussed as to be first to market with it, if that makes sense. I'm more interested to see how like the neighborhood and the endeavors system and stuff all sort of builds. I really hope that they can do good bits to give a good community feel to it, even if everybody just lives in a default square shed. Happy New Year's from Oz. 2026. You're living in the future. Happy New Year. Does that mean you're on the very East Coast? Are we starting to now have... Yeah, 4 minutes ago we probably had the first New Year's. Guys in New Zealand. Gotta wait. I've seen a bunch of cool things. I've seen lots of people, surprise, make some cool looking kind of like computer desks and screen setups and that sort of stuff. I saw somebody making like a sewing machine out of like 25 different pieces of decor, which was kind of wild. It's definitely quite impressive what some people have been able to figure out already. I mean, it's a testament, to be fair to Blizzard, that there's enough items in the game and the tools are good enough for people to already be creative. It's just the problem is that creative people don't have really much way to share their creativity right now. Where Blizzard implemented something like that, it could really boom. A vid of somebody creating a bathroom with soap dishes, baskets of towels and pillows and stuff. Yeah, people are doing wild things. I know I don't have the creative gene in me to do that sort of stuff. But those who are good at it are clearly very good at it. Finished remix, gotta go collect all the things before you dive into the building part of it. I wonder how many people are doing that, you know? I wonder how many people are like just hell-bent on collecting everything first. I mean, even when it launched, there were people that were like, I'm not touching this until I'm at least level 5. Which kind of makes sense, because you kind of want to make sure that you have a big decor budget to really make sure that you can put the rooms where you want the rooms to be and that sort of stuff. Bought the plot, went inside, Hearthstoned out. It's not too far different to what I've done with it, if I'm honest. I did enough of the tutorial to get my lumber axe. I'm peaced out. But yeah. I think it was Licorice in the Discord the other day shared his library, which was very Demon Hunter kind of mage inspired. Big, tall, spiraling, jumping game style room, which I thought looked pretty cool. One day we'll tinker with it and poke around with it a little bit more, but for now I'm more than content just making sure those that wants to buy the decor can buy as the decor. And if haha, a wild woo appears. And if it so happens to be my auction they want to buy, then all the better. Need to hopefully try and purge as much of this decor, or find a home for as much of this decor. Because obviously it doesn't sell if we leave it in the war bank. Most annoying about Decor is people posting public orders for 10 to 50 gold and then later seeing those people selling it on the auction house. You'll have a 50 gold profit margin markup on them at least. I've long thought the easy solution to counter that is just make orders bind on pickup. Like, I don't understand. I mean, they could nuke that entire thing real fast. If you go out of your way to place an order for something, it should be clear as day that it is for you. And place an order for somebody else and then only go and sell it. But at the end of the day, it's open market. People want to try that, they can try that. you could argue it's not that dissimilar to me buying Decor when I see it cheap and then selling it when it's not cheap. Resourcefulness working on all of the expansions would be interesting, though. I agree with you on that one. Get if what's that recipe that uses the Orb of Mystery? Imagine a resource proc on the Orb of Mystery. Kerching, 20k in the bag. How did you end up with 80 times that staff of slumber? Eh? What do you mean? Oh, oh, that one. I seem to have a shitload of them. Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. I have an awful lot of them. It was a mini adventure that hasn't really worked. Let's put it that way. It was a test. Yeah, this Brax's thing of staff of slumber. There was a pit. Oh, I mean, I can. There was a period where there wasn't that many of them across the region, and lots of them had got very cheap. So I went round and hoovered up most of them, or a lot of them. I haven't sold too many of them though since doing it. So I'm still holding a loss on those, and it's not really something I've micromanaged. It was a little test I did. I think, I don't know, I spent like 200k on doing it, and I've sold like 1 or 2 of them. I've nearly broke even, I think, on them. But one of those, well, I'll probably put half of them in the bin eventually anyway. Still quite a few bits of decor here, but it is like the dum-dum sticky stuff, beanbag chairs and plushies again. I'm running the risk of the other accounts logging out as well. I need to keep that one logged in. Oh no, don't steal my Warbank access. Go on, you're fast enough. You've got no add-ons. Don't you dare steal my Warbank access. Aha, we're good. Dodged a bullet. Ginny, how we doing? Welcome in. We've got to wait a little bit for New Year's, but it's nearly there. Nearly there. I'm not sure if I'm going to stream tomorrow or not. Obviously, Mrs. Manthius is off tomorrow with it being a public holiday. I don't know if she wants to do anything or whether we would not be too terrible of an idea to just take a chill day. Because being at her in-laws for Christmas basically meant that Christmas isn't chill. I need a week after Christmas to recover from Christmas. Plus, unfortunately, having to put one of our dogs to sleep put a bit of a mental drain on Christmas as well, which I wasn't expecting. I was hoping to feel nice and refreshed and revitalized after Christmas, and it turned out that's not the case. So it might be I might just take tomorrow as an actual day off, chill with the wife. Feels like the smart thing to do, but who knows? Who knows? There might be a stream tomorrow. Oh no, nothing happened. The dog was old. It was coming. Listening to that rubbish. Holiday for my holiday is a real thing. It's weird, isn't it? Weird. And this is why I understand the gamer mindset. Some people, I used to remember that people would like book a week off holiday and then be asked like, what are you going to do with your week off? And their answer was, I'm going to sit indoors and I'm going to play video games all week. And people looked at them funny. And I was like, oh, do you not want to go somewhere? Do you not want to go on holiday? Do you not want to do something? No, I want to stop for a week and do nothing for a week. Genuinely, that's the purpose of a holiday for some people, is to proactively do nothing. Putting clothes on is too much. You know, having to open the front door to let your takeout food in is one step away from being too much like hard work for some people on a holiday. I totally get it. For some, it is genuinely the only way they can let their like brain chill out and reset. It takes my wife a week to like get out of like work mode as well. In Finland, it's not uncommon for people to have like a 4-week holiday in the summer. They'll take it's usually July, sometimes August. They just take the entire month off. My wife does that, and it takes her the first week to like actually wind down from being at work. So like forget about meetings and emails and inboxes and standard work related things. I think we're about to have the sunset. I don't think there's much sun left. You can see out the window that it's starting to get dark already. 3:20 in the afternoon. Might have to put lights on in there, it's getting dark. Days are already longer than a week ago. That is true. That is true. Plus now we've had a sprinkling of snow. Everything when it is light, it feels lighter. Snow does fantastically well for bouncing the light about. Definitely hoping to find a home for more of this lumber. This is clearly an indication that the cheap stuff is now getting not only cheap, but also stacking up. If I'm struggling to find places to put it. I was looking on the Undermine exchange a little bit yesterday to realize that the presence of lumber is nearly 100% on nearly every single server now. There's very rarely an opportunity to take something to somewhere where that piece of lumber doesn't, that piece of decor doesn't already exist. Which means even on the small servers, you're competing against others now. Which is why I'm kind of glad I've just got a lot of it. Standard numbers game. If you post 10 things, you'd be lucky to make one sale. If you post 100 things, one sale should be easy work. And if you post 1,000 things, then, you know, even 10, 15, 20 sales should be easy work. How many realms are we on? 80 realms? Let's say eventually we get like 100 items on every realm. It's like 8,000 auctions. If, of course, it is 8,000 of things of value to other people, the pennies will start rolling in by that point. By this time next year, Rodney, we'll be millionaires. I miss Only Fools and Horses, you know. What an absolute classic of a TV program. So you're saying you might actually start building your house soon? I mean, I could easily add 10, 15, 20 items of decor to my collection, but whether it's going to push me into actually building the house, it's a little bit 50-50. Right, two more realms. Two more realms, and then this account is got lumber wherever it will take it. They should do another one, but this time David Jason is the granddad. Yes, that would be class. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? Who would they get to play Del Boy and Rodney though? Or was it ever? Did any of them ever have kids? I can't quite remember. They could make it generational, couldn't they? Although there's some argument to say that something as classic as that should probably just be left alone. How often do they try and cash in and do a remake of something and it ends up being fucking terrible? Damien, Del Boy's weird son. Oh yeah, there was Damien, wasn't there? Oh maybe. Oh, maybe it could work. Been wanting to do some of the decor crafting. I made like 20 items, none of them are sold yet. Meanwhile, still selling transmogs and pets pretty well. Selling something is better than selling nothing. I've started suggesting to people that when it comes to decor, they should be more thinking of it as a long-term market. The short-term cash grab phase of decor is mostly done now. Ooh, there was the first firework. All three dogs are like, what the fucking hell is that? Back to sleep. Go on, Ipswich. Did it that I think Decor is it's one of those things that you can just chip away at, and as long as you don't if you don't, as soon as you stop thinking of it as a farming thing, it's kind of much like transmog in a way, right? Obviously, people like to look, they have epic loot appraiser and whatever the fuck going on. When it comes to like trying to figure out their goal per hour via farming and whatever, but I think most people who do transmog very quickly learn that that's just a bullshit number anyway, and it's just it's nice occasionally to see it go ding and a big number pop up. That's the dopamine rush, isn't it? But I think soon as people stop thinking of farming lumber in that same vein and start thinking about it on that they get to add more and more and more onto their offering, the reality is most decor, the decor market will function like transmog, but unlike transmog, every item is a unique item. Now, that doesn't mean anybody wants it, but the fact that every piece of crafted decor has its own unique appearance right now. The biggest catch and the biggest bait with a lot of transmog is that huge amounts of items share the same appearance, meaning sometimes your add-on goes ding and tells you you've made 200,000 gold, but it shares the appearance with a 15 gold crafted item, meaning that absolutely nobody in a month of Sundays is ever going to want it. There's kind of stumbling blocks within the transmog market. But Decor, in theory, if you have 10 items for sale, you have 10 unique items for sale. If you have 100 items crafted and for sale, you have 100 unique items. Like it's almost as you build your collection grows, but your collection also increases in more realistic, more true value. So you can do an hour or two of lumber farming periodically, craft a few things that you are missing from stock and post them, and be content with those occasional sales off the back end of it. I think is probably the way I would suggest people look at it from this point on. Which, yes, does mean that the 100k an hour kind of farm aspect of it is probably done, but the more I look at Decor and the more I look at the professions in Midnight, the more I come to the conclusion that if you want to be making steady gold throughout Midnight, Decor is where you should put your focus and your attention. Because I'm not convinced much else within crafting is going to hold its value very well. Yeah, and on top of the fact that somebody might come along and buy, 6 chairs. Whereas transmog, people are only ever going to buy one. I have a spark of starlight and crafted a 2-handed weapon. And now all are gone. Are they reset every week? Well, a 2-handed weapon takes 2 of them, for starters. And honestly, there'll be, there's a big spike in interest in player housing because it's brand new and it's shiny right now. But throughout the entirety of Midnight, every time somebody is new to the game, like think about how good Blizzard are at selling the expansion. Like we see this huge spike in player base at the beginning of an expansion. Now, nearly everybody that buys Midnight is at least going to go and have a look, right? Now, of course, that doesn't mean people will get suckered into and get completely captivated by it, but everybody that has a look is another potential person that might come to the auction house and buy some decor, So I really do think that, sure, the gold per hour via farming lumber might not hold huge value forever, but it's actually surprisingly held pretty well even in the first 4 weeks. It's still to this day is like 300-400 gold per piece of lumber you pick up, which, you know, is higher than what I expected it to be at the beginning still. Right? I thought charging 400 gold for a piece of lumber was going to be taking the piss. I thought people would be undercutting that shit so fast, right? But people were comfortably charging like 1,000 piece of lumber, and shit was selling, and it was mental, and it was crazy. This is why there was, you know, such huge gold to be made with it in the first couple of weeks. But now we're getting more into the long tail of Decor, and we're starting to see where there are a lot of people that are starting to see the lumber value drop and are struggling to sell their items, and a lot more people are like, you know what? I had my fun, I made my million, I'm done, I'll put it down now. But it's not like crashing. It's still somewhat holding. So I'm surprisingly confident about Decor. Certainly more enthusiastic and confident about it than I am the midnight crafting professions generally. I think starting with it now, getting the understanding of it now, getting your professions leveled up, farming a bunch of lumber more than anything else actually. Straight up farming a bunch of lumber right now is not a terrible idea, because once midnight launches, are you going to want to go spend 10 hours farming in Northrend to get cold wind lumber? Probably not. You know, probably not. And if you're probably not, I imagine most other people are also probably not. And that leaves the market kind of wide open for, you know, a second wave, I suppose. Now, it's never going to be as crazy as the first time round, because nothing ever is the second time round. But, like, it will at least be a second wave, a reverb, which would be nice. What I did want to do, though, on the topic of lumber, is I wanted to, has the name of this mountain changed? The Har Zotan. Has the name of this mountain changed? I don't remember it being named that. Or maybe I just never paid attention. Anyway. Trump strikes again. Randomly changing the name of shit for no apparent reason. What I want to do is put a route together for Hallowfall. Is it with routes that you actually need to be in the zone to make the map? Can't really remember. Add. No, we can do Hallowfall. Select zone, Hallowfall, new route. From the logging data from GatherMate 2. Create route. Now we have Hallowfall, Manthias Lumber. Gonna look pretty wackadoodle for a minute. Gonna look touch spiky for a second. Customize this a little bit. We can go line settings. Jack these numbers up a little bit more. starters. Change the color to some yellow. Optimize the route a little bit. We can do a big old cluster. Cuts it down to 51 nodes from 205. Better. Now we optimize it a little bit for distance. Boop. And like magic, we have a wonderfully optimized route. Now, do we want to do any tweaks or adjustments to this? This one, for example, is maybe one that you want to push up because you're probably not going to want to fly all the way down there to fly all the way back up. Sometimes these routes need you to take a little bit of a look at like the verticality aspect of them, because this routes add-on only works on a 2-dimensional plane. That looks relatively sensible. It's a lumber route with what data we have on lumber. How long is the route? 20,000 yards long. How long is the Isle of Dawn one? 23,000. It's a bit shorter. Quite a large concentration of the lumber in the middle section. I almost wonder if chopping this top bit out completely, just like swooping straight down here, might be more optimal. Anyway, that sort of makes sense. I want to try and generate a few different routes and then spend half an hour testing them to see just how efficient they are, and if there's odd bits that you would probably see, like going up here seems like a dumb idea. You just fly straight across here, wouldn't you? You fly straight across and come down. You just sack off these like 3 nodes at the top here. Nobody cares. There should be plenty for you to do at this point. No point taking a big detour. That sort of makes sense. We've got a couple of lumber routes potentially for Dornic lumber. One of the cheapest lumbers right now, but that's kind of obvious in a way that it's the first one that people have a chance to play with, right? Yeah, Dornic fir lumber is literally the cheapest lumber at 215 gold per lumber. Weirdly, though, is one that I sort of also think has the opportunity to rebound a bit more as well, because it's the current expansion right now. People have already got their professions leveled up, their Khazalgar professions leveled up, so it's the sensible starting point. As soon as we go into midnight, it no longer becomes the sensible starting point. So it's got the opportunity, at least, to rebound in value a little bit. Testing these will give me a good opportunity to get a bit of a stockpile of the lumber together anyway. And also doing a couple of laps would be good to just sort of check that the routes are not moronic. Still doesn't feel when you're getting potentially even 200 lumber, 200 gold per lumber of potential value. Still doesn't really feel sensible to pick up herbs and ore while you're doing this. Now that might change pretty heavily when we go into midnight. Having your herb and miner character also be the one that picks up lumber, like there'll be value in doing that, I reckon. Right now, mats are not worth enough to bother picking them up. just hit as much lumber as you can per hour, I reckon. You tried using Farm HUD. I've historically not liked Farm HUD. I, as you see, have a Mantheus twist on it. My Mantheus twist on it is to just make my mini-map huge and put it in the middle of the map. Middle of the screen. Farm HUD, yes, I have used it. It just makes me dizzy. Okay, so they're like, these are sections where you would probably ignore the lumber in them because they're, you might change the route up a little bit because you don't want to, you just ignore the ones where you take aggro. You ain't never stopping to kill a mob. That's crazy talk. Yeah, Farm HUD is absolutely an add-on I would recommend people at least try, but I don't know, it kind of gave me weird, almost vertigo kind of symptoms. So, not for me. Slam a big mini-map in the middle of the screen instead. Now that you can have custom, you know, custom layouts for your gathering character, you can mess around with your UI elements a little bit more.
Adorn their ramoliths with flowers, symbolizing harmony and their gratitude for nature's gifts.
This is one of those scenarios where you might change the route up a little bit because you don't want to be flying too much up a mountain. Haha, ding, 79. I forgot this character's not even leveled yet. Took me 9 hours, 52 minutes to go from 78 to 79. That's got to be some sort of anti-record. 2 and 3 lumbers a go from out here as well, though. This could also contribute to why it's got the lowest overall value, because you can farm it faster. Level my farming character with just gathering. It's a smart way of doing it, I'm going to be honest. Like, if you're like me and get really mentally bored out of your brain with leveling, I think I will probably look at leveling a whole bunch of characters come midnight just by herbing and mining on them. Once you're, because in the first week, for example, I'm probably going to want to get 5-ish characters to level 90 quite quickly. I used early access in this expansion to do exactly that. If you remember, dungeons were a bit busted OP the first few days. I think they even got nerfed slightly thereafter. But dungeon leveling was a little bit busted, but it was partly because every like absolutely Giga Chad mythic geared player was just like blasting dungeons. Why 5? I should probably point out that there's the account wide 5% boost for each of your first alts. Stacks up to 25%. Same as what we have here. The warband mentored leveling advantage. It's the same thing again in it's the same system in Midnight. So you'll get a cheeky little 5% leveling XP boost for the first 5 characters up to a maximum of 25. That will you know, that pays for itself eventually. It's just whether I want to use too much of early access leveling characters, but I also know already that I'm probably not going to be absolutely blasting professions this time round because I just don't see much value in doing it. Unless they do something crazy with the amount of moxie that's needed for your profession tools, I can't see much reason to blast professions. The more likely outcome for the first few days of the expansion is to early access might end up being just get every character their profession for concentration purposes. That might be quite a high priority goal Because that's just legwork. That's just a chore that just needs to be done. Get every character into the new expansion. Get them their new... get them their professions. Enchanting, no doubt. Probably jewel crafting. Get them their professions. And get them crafting summon. Oh shit, yeah, I forgot about those. They because then when the rest of the flood of people join up a couple of days later, you know, if you've been able to spend a few days getting all that legwork done, you're, you know, that basically gives you an entire... You're going to have 3, maybe... It's 3, maybe 4 days of all early access, isn't it? Because if the game goes live on, like, Tuesday, but early access kicks off on the Friday or something, you might end up with nearly a bonus bar of concentration, which... An extra 1,000 concentration on each character in the first week is going to be worth something. Have I done a full lap yet? It feels like I've nearly done a... I should probably time how long it takes to do each lap as well. Give a rough estimation to how long it takes to do each lap. I'm not actually tracking anything right now. I'm just following the route just to see if it sort of feels sensible. See if there's any clear and obvious thing to go, you know what, that node needs to move. You land in a, you know, a pit of elites or something, then maybe maybe ignore that one. Hello, druids. Is dual boxing druids really that much more efficient than if you, like, just proper zoom on a single druid? I mean, I'm even losing time doing this by, like, clicking the node. I should be using the interact key. Streamer Golden Goblin made a fortune selling green crafting gear when the War Within launched. Green, yeah, green profession tools is a solid way of making some coin at the beginning. That's factual. It was an interesting one because because we had the warband system in play as well. The best opportunity there was to unlock and spec deep into profession tools on a character and then just craft 100 of everything and just like syndicate it out across the entire region. I don't think the opportunity to do that will be quite as strong this time round, but it will still be possible. There's always underrepresented servers, always. EU has like 82 different servers. So there's always room. A lot of people got stuck though doing that, with the fact that they took their, you know, their main crafter and they spec'd into profession tools, and then, you know, later in the week the guild leader was like, or their raid leader was like, can you spec into this please? We need you to make all of the plate boots. And they were like, oh. No. And this was obviously before we had a spec reset. Of which, I would point out, I have not found an NPC that allows you to reset your talents in the War Within, in Midnight, by the way. Just as a subtle warning for people who, I think there's going to be lots of people that will assume that that NPC is there from day one and that they can reset. You've got to be careful with that one. There's enough public backlash about it, they'll probably add it nice and quick, but... Dual boxing with the Sandstone Drake, not on Druids though, we're still getting 400 lumber an hour. I mean, that's still good enough to make it worth doing, isn't it? It's, what should we say? 50% more efficient for having that second account. Right, this is one of those scenarios where you sack off the... You change the route so that you don't get caught in the fire there. You don't want to... Yeah, you don't want to be landing in the middle of a section of elite bees. Easy, just have 35 max. Well, all that, yeah. Flipped recipes over the servers, even wrote an app that let me track the specific prices for specific recipes and checked the highest versus lowest. Woo, that's sweaty. I like it. I do think that I need to play to my strengths going into midnight, and it's I was kind of talking about this the other day. Can't remember who I was talking to about it, but it was I kind of feel that the way I will end up playing midnight will be very different to a lot of other people. I mean, that's kind of in a way by design, because the best way to make gold in this game is to zig when everybody zags. When everybody is off doing something, go do something else. That makes sense. When every man and their dog is absolutely blasting concentration ults, maybe there'll be an open market for something else. I don't know. But I think when it comes to playing to my strengths, I need to really try and utilize the fact that we have this set up already, you know? We have the ability to, at a blink of an eye, be on any server in the EU, which will definitely present some opportunities for some cross-realm arbitrage. And the reality is that's not really a system that most players are able to just kind of quickly set up, you know? I don't know how I'm going to be able to utilize the fact that there's loads of level 80 characters on all of them. More so, I mean, than just, you know, giving them flipping enchanting and crafting a few enchants, but... This section needs a revisit. Going over these mountains is not fun. Gonna burn a bunch of vigor doing this as well. Since when do the time walking vendors not disappear when their week is over? Have they not disappeared? Have they stayed about? Do you not think maybe just because it's reset day to day that that's maybe a bug? Interesting if it's a design choice though. Phasing is also a thing here apparently. Yeah, we do not want to be here. Problem is Blizzard's API only updates the prices every hour. Yeah, but I mean, you're still way ahead of the game there. Way ahead of the game still. I know this became quite a common thing with like material prices and stuff. In that, even because my general consensus was like, rather than having to like do anything too clever with pricing data, was to just basically go, well, you know, TSM DB recent is, you know, but it's not too dissimilar to okay, let me actually try and string a sentence together. TSM DB recent felt like the best of both worlds. It gave you the most up-to-date price. Now, without being too busted by like bait prices, because TSM DB recent automatically excludes bait prices. The only time it can sometimes go a little bit wonky is if a reset has literally just happened. Like, I mean, within 20 minutes of the snapshot kind of thing. But resets on markets don't happen more than, you know, very sporadically. So I've always sort of considered I've considered DB recent the go-to. But a lot of people took the opinion that even DB recent being like within an hour is not accurate enough. I just go by the theory that if your margins are that tight, should you really be doing it anyway? Because if your margins are that tight, when crafting, you also have to consider that there is 2 levels of RNG involved in all crafting these days. Multi-craft and resourcefulness.
And procure them?
Even if you are very, very careful on your crafting costs, you are still working with mathematical averages. Mathematical averages that are going to have a reasonable swing in either direction, unless you are literally producing tens of thousands of a thing. And if you're producing tens of thousands of a thing, you're probably buying so many materials that you're probably single-handedly having an influence on the overall market price of that material anyway. In other words, I usually considered that if your pricing data is considered too old, with it being within an hour, it's probably too margin tight for me to care about in the first place. But this is probably why I did very little crafting in Season 2 or Season 3, because you could spend 10 million, you could spend 10 million gold and not even be guaranteed to sell it for 11. Which was far too risky for me. Right, this route seems sensible. There's a hiccup or two in it where we drop into flipping elite B land. That might need smoothing out, but the rest of it feels pretty straightforward, pretty sensible. So we'll chalk that up as a solid route, I think. Need to optimize my queries, but waiting for the Decor craze to stop. You can find anything based on sell rates, minimum profits, specific buy and sell realms, etc. Clever. Nothing beats just plain gathering at the start anyway in terms of consistency. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're looking to, you know, if you just want to wake up in the morning and play for 10 hours, you'll probably be able to take a 50k per hour farm, and you'll probably end the day 500,000 gold richer. It's about as consistent as it gets. The only difficulty for me with gathering is that the thought of doing 10 hours of gathering is a sickening thought to begin with. Especially at the beginning of an expansion when there is just so many shinies, right? The distractions are tenfold. The thought of doing for me, the launch of an expansion is literally the most magical time of the year. I mean, Christmas comes around more frequently than an expansion launch, so I think the launch of an expansion is a lot more fun. This is why I kind of don't want to do anything overly repetitive at the beginning. I want to be able to start the beginning of the expansion by leveling my main character up, starting to work on the reps and doing, completing all the quests and exploring the zones and killing the rares and all of that sort of stuff. I kind of want to be doing all of that at the beginning, but simultaneously, I need to have something for these bonus accounts to be chipping away at whilst we're doing all of that. This is why I think having a few of the processing kind of professions up and running on these bonus accounts, milling and ink crafting and prospecting and disenchanting and that sort of stuff, crafting things to then be disenchanted sort of thing, like that sort of like AFK processing kind of stuff. I think I'll have to spread out across these accounts for the first couple of weeks so that they can all be doing something while I'm sort of more actively playing the game. But at the same time, I think a lot of the day, or a good percentage of the day, will be spent like snagging cheap things from places. It's determining what's cheap and where, though, that's going to be fun, because you won't have particularly, well, you can basically rely on having no pricing data at the beginning. Has anybody tried farming lumber on the Siren Isle? That's a good question. I haven't actually tried. I'm guessing there's no lumber in Koresh. I'm guessing there's no lumber in the Undermine. To be fair, though, I am only guessing. Haven't looked into the midnight reps and the rewards. It's pretty easy. Renown 6, I think, is all that's needed from a profession perspective. Easier than the War Within, anyway. Probably part of the Great Simplify. But anyway, boys and girls, I think I'm going to love you and leave you. I think I'm going to leave you here for the last time in 2025. Well, Team Australia's already in 2026. Congratulations, you live in the future. Or some of Australia, at least. But I'm going to go take the dogs for a quick spin. I think they deserve a walk before it gets dark, because they're not going to get much of a walk this evening because of all the fireworks. So I should be a good human being and let them out for a stroll before the chaos pops off this evening. Enjoy your evening. I cannot in any way, shape or form guarantee there'll be a stream tomorrow, because of course it's New Year's Day. And there's a good chance I just take the option to just chill for the day. I haven't really had like a proper chill day for quite a while. I know it's just been Christmas and all of that, but as you probably know, Christmas is just as busy as any other time of the year. But if you're up to stuff this evening, have fun, stay safe. You know, point the fireworks away from you. Terrible advice. But yeah, look after yourselves. I will see you all in 2026. It's been a fun year. Let's hope the next one is just as good. Have yourselves a great one. I'll see you next time. Peace.